All right, welcome back. Now, if you're someone who is either an online marketer, online business owner, or you just want to get into the game of doing branding, personal branding, and content to grow your business online and start generating sales, whether high ticket sales or just purchases for your business, this training right now is going to be an absolute game changer because I've come up with this framework that is going to absolutely blow your mind, as well as breaking down what has literally taken me tens of thousands of pounds of testing on advertisements, on literally spending years on figuring out what kind of content really resonates, really works well, and actually doesn't just get likes and subscribers, but also gets people to buy your stuff, right? And so what I'm going to be breaking down for you today is what I wish somebody had broken down for me 5-6 years ago when I first got started out in the game. So make sure you got your pen and pad at the ready, and we're going to dive straight in. And by the way, this is my first time doing one of these whiteboard videos as well, where I'm speaking to the camera. I've got my whiteboard. Normally I'm just sat down in my studio. But if you like this style of content, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll continue making videos like this for you with tons of value. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. And I've already got some stuff written down over here that you can take a look at and see. But the first thing that you want to write down is what I call the triad of resonant marketing, okay? Because to give you some context as to why this is so important right now in 2026 especially, is because when you think about how AI has now completely taken over to the point where we literally have video software AI using things like Higgsfield, VO3, of which anybody can pay for it. Like anybody can go and get a subscription to one of these platforms, create a piece of AI content in video format, which is 10, 15, 20 seconds long, go and put that short form content after 20 minutes onto a social media platform and actually make a better quality content than you probably could if it was your first time doing it yourself. If you don't know anything about lighting and filming, cinematography, etc. And so the question is that not necessarily is it better to do AI content, or is it better to do content where it's just you in the camera that's speaking directly to it? But the question more so is, how are we going to navigate this when AI, the supply of AI content raises significantly more than the supply of actual human content? Because think about it, like before this point, the average person who wanted to get into business but had a fear of judgment, or they wanted to just simply stay private, like all of those people didn't even have an option to go and create AI content. But one of the people that I've been working with, one of my clients, he has got his own tutoring business and literally said to me that I've had this fear for the entire time period, which is why any advertisements that I put out up until this point, they've all been picture advertisements. They've just been written posts. None of them has been a video ad. And so as soon as I started working with him, I was like, let's go and make an AI video ad at least, so I can show you the difference in terms of the quality of leads that you're going to generate with a video versus a regular post with just like a headline on it. That's it. And so as soon as he did that, like it took him about an hour or two to actually get the video done. Cost him, instead of paying £1,000 or so, cost him only about £10 or £20 or something like that to make a single AI ad, which wasn't just any ordinary ad. It was like literally a person in great studio lighting, a person who was an authority speaking on a stage. So the amount of influence that it had as well was like significant. And you can choose any AI avatar that you want. So I'm not here advocating for doing AI ads all the time. But what I'm saying is that that's now an option for people who never ordinarily had that before. So you've got to be thinking about, to stay ahead of the game, how can you truly separate yourself right now when there's going to be such an influx of content on social media? What's the market going to truly be craving for? right? And this is why I believe there's one form of marketing, especially, that if you double down on this from now until the future, like it's going to be an absolute game changer for you. And I'm already seeing a lot of creators and companies shifting in this direction as well. So the triad of resonant marketing, right, specifically touches on one style of marketing, which I believe is going to be the one that people need to lean a lot more into. Because traditionally speaking, what we've seen through social media as it's first come on, like platforms like Instagram, platforms like Facebook, TikTok, what we've seen with these platforms is that they typically optimize for engagement through likes, comments, and shares. Those are the main things. So the whole purpose of the algorithm is just literally to make sure that they can keep your attention on the platform for as long as possible. But I was actually thinking about it completely wrong in terms of what the algorithm truly is, right? Because how I was seeing the algorithm is that the algorithm is like just one entity. But really, and this is where it all shifted for me, is I was watching a podcast, or you could call it a debate, between Jordan Peterson and Richard Dawkins. So if you know who any of those two are, Jordan Peterson is the guy who we all know, like does his lectures and educational talks and things like this. But when people think of him around the area topic of God, he seems to be more leaning towards being somebody who is either a monotheist or agnostic, whereas Richard Dawkins is the guy who is well known for writing the book The Selfish Gene, and also being the guy that is the leader of the atheists. So it was a head-to-head between these two. I just clicked on it because I was curious. And I started watching and noticed, like, straight away, one of the main topics of the conversation was going to be around memes. And I was like, memes? Why are these two going to be talking about memes in a debate around God? Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. And then I actually learned that the guy who came up with the term meme was Richard Dawkins himself. So you can look that up as well. Like, I'm not joking. It was actually not from any kid that was making these memes and the stupid stuff that we see on TikTok and Instagram, but it's a scientific term that he came up with in the book The Selfish Gene. Why? Because he wanted to describe the replicating nature of the gene, as well as that compared to the replicating nature of something different, which doesn't replicate through reproduction as genes do, but through simply stickiness. And that was the meme. So meme is actually something that's been around since 1976, a lot longer than the memes that we know about on social media that we all share with each other. But the biggest difference, and this is the important thing to understand, is that the meme is, in definition from Richard Dawkins, it's any mutatable substance, anything that can replicate, whether it's an idea, a virus, anything that can replicate through the stickiness of it itself. This is an absolute game changer, because as soon as you understand this, you're going to recognize that, oh my God, like, going viral and understanding how the algorithm truly works, the way that the algorithm works is that it's just trying to survive. The same way that we are created in a way where it's a species of the survival of the fittest. It's the exact same thing with these algorithms, but it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the stickiest is the best way to put it. So once you understand this, it's like, how can you make your piece of content survive the longest if you want to go down that route of the meme? So going back to what I was saying, it's like the typical way that people have marketed on social media has just been a case of whoever gets the most followers, whoever gets the most subscribers, whoever gets the most likes, whoever gets the most comments, they're the ones that win. That's what it's rewarded. It's rewarded people who can grab the most attention for the longest period of time, And that's been the economy that we've grown up in with the whole marketing space industry on social media, right? And a lot of people are still coming on and thinking that they're seeing this, whoops, they're seeing this new creator who's blown up to 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers, a million followers. And I'm not saying that those aren't still important metrics to be working on, but it's not the be all and end all. In fact, there's a statistic that says that over 90% of people who on social media, Instagram, Facebook, like TikTok, over 90% of those people who have over 100,000 subscribers or followers don't actually earn enough money to not live without a job. They don't actually earn enough money to have a stable income. That's over 90% of them, which is crazy because you're thinking to yourself, like, from the old model, 100,000 people, even if 1% of those people bought a product for $100 a month or £100 a month, then they should at least be able to, afford a decent lifestyle. But there's a difference between creators who are good at the meme content, which is just getting viral and those vanity metrics, versus someone who is actually a great marketer who knows how to get conversions, right? Because a marketer is going to be thinking a lot more systematically in that process. Whereas a person who is just a content creator who's good at going viral, they might not necessarily get the same results. So this is something that I think most people are somewhat aware of in the marketing space. But to break it down simply into these three archetypes is what I call them, of the triad of resonant marketing, right? And I'm going to flip my whiteboard as well so you can actually see that the word triad over here in and of itself is an acronym. And the acronym for triad is the replication, as I said, with the algorithm, how it replicates itself, the memes, how they replicate themselves. The replication, identity, this is now the resonance that's required in order for your frequency to match another person's frequency so that they feel that resonance within your target audience. It's when it matches at an identity level. The replication, identity, adoption, doctrine, right? That's what the triad stands for. It's not just the fact that there's three archetypes, but there's also an acronym there too. So you can write that down, you can memorize it. But as I've described, we've got three different archetypes who essentially share in their content three types of content. One of them is the meme content. As I've already described, this is the one that just goes simply the most viral, has the most likes, shares, subscribers. And the whole mantra with a person who is thinking meme content is they're thinking the shorter the content, the better. And what I personally noticed when I was on TikTok for the first time a few years ago and some of my posts went viral, I also taught some other people to go on TikTok and their posts went viral. I had one guy called Roy and he created a TikTok account through me teaching him what to do. And within about a few weeks, he went to 18,000 followers on TikTok. Right. And the funny thing about that is that although he went to 18,000 followers on TikTok, he didn't make any sales. So we learned very quickly that it's not just about having followers. It's not just about getting viral, but it's actually about being able to be a good marketer. So that's an example of someone who I know has got tons of followers and just didn't make any money from it. Right. So those people out there, those 100K people who you might be thinking to yourself right now, oh yeah, they're millionaires right now, or they might be able to quit their job, etc. Like, nah, that's not how it works. A lot of these guys are not business people, they're not marketers. So you got to choose who you want to be, right? If you want to learn from me, then you can become one of the marketers. But like I was saying, the meme content, the whole idea is the shorter the better. And when I was doing this on TikTok especially, like that's where I think I focused a lot on just simply going viral when it first came out especially. And what I noticed was that by me putting out the short form content, whether it was an ad or whether it was just for my personal brand, what I noticed was that the kind of people that were coming through, it's not as if that we weren't always in alignment or they weren't as good quality, but there were two things that I tend to find was that one, they didn't have the same level of respect. They didn't have the same level of trust. They didn't have the same level of, you could almost say quality in some degree. When I reference quality as being how converted that they are before they actually go and buy your product or jump on a call with you, right? What I found was that this is what I actually describe as being the ADHD market. These are people who they like consuming short form content a lot of the time. So it was really interesting because I was like, why is it that almost every single person who I have coming through on my ads are telling me that they have ADHD? It was becoming more than just a coincidence. It was like, no, I've actually figured out a way to attract ADHD people that had ADHD. And I believe part and parcel it's because my ads were like 15 seconds. My content was 2 to 3 seconds. So it's enough for people to just be scrolling, doom scrolling. But it didn't really attract people who had longer attention spans or, didn't necessarily deal with that same issue. So if you want to go for a wide market, then yeah, of course, you can go for the meme style of content. And you can even do it in a way where you can get people to convert if you understand marketing. I'm going to go through marketing a little bit later on in the video as well, so you understand what I mean when I'm talking about this term, right? So the shorter the better is the mantra for these people. And if you want to get good at the meme content, like I'll give you the game for it. It's really not that difficult. If you feel like right now you're on a couple of hundred followers or you only have a few subscribers and just for your own ego, right? Just for your own peace of mind, so that you can wake up and be like, at least these people will respect me. But here's one thing that I'd say to that as well is that, one of my mentors sat me down when I was at lunch with him. And I actually said that for me right now, I feel like I don't have enough followers. And I was given an example of another guy's profile who had like 10K followers. And I said, like, what has he done that I haven't done? Like, can you teach me this? And he said, you don't need to worry about that. In fact, what I'd actually say about that guy is that, the 10K is more about like, it's an ego metric, meaning that if you are obsessed personally about that, then that's your ego that's obsessed about that number. But at the same time, the ones who will recognize you for the 10K followers, the 100K followers, the million subscribers or whatever, the ones who will recognize you for those metrics are also coming from an egocentric place. So chances are, if that's the only reason for why people will connect with you, just because of how many followers that you have, then you're going to attract people into your ego tribe. And that's not what we want. I can tell you many reasons for why you don't want people in your ego tribe. I've experienced it myself. There's going to be clashes. There's going to be all sorts of things that you're going to have to endure as a cost and a debt. So the thing that you want to do, though, however, if you feel as though, you know what, I do want to get more eyeballs on my content, that's a very valid thing. You just want to get more eyeballs on your content, more shots at the basket. If that's the case, then what you must study right now is you got to study attention. Okay, you got to study the 7 triggers of attention, which is framing, mystery, disruption. It's things that I talked about on previous video, the ABCs of digital marketing. If you haven't seen that already, it's on my YouTube channel. You can go give that a watch. I think it's about an hour long as well. So there's tons of value in that. That's really like a basics understanding of digital marketing. But we've got framing, disruption, mystery, acknowledgement, automaticity, and there's a couple more as well. So you have to study things like that. You have to study the science of attention. You have to study and understand why do people's attention get triggered and why do they pay attention to certain things versus others. Because as soon as you understand that, it's like game over. You know exactly how systematically you can just grab people's attention left, right, and center by using one of those triggers. It's not just a case of I'm going to post a short form piece of content for 3 to 5 seconds. And because it's 3 to 5 seconds, it's going to go viral. Like, that's not how it works, right? How it actually works is that there's a scientific process happening in a person's mind, the neuroscience that's occurring. And when you know exactly how that's working, then you can engineer virality rather than it being something that's guesswork. And this is why there's certain creators who not only are able to go viral once, but they can do it multiple times over consistently. And it's not just because the platform starts rewarding them, it's because what they're giving to the algorithm makes it easier for it to replicate itself. This is why people like Roy, when I gave him all of these keys and I gave him all of the gems, he not only was able to create one profile that went viral and got him thousands of followers, but he got shut down 2 to 3 times as well. And he just brought it back up to 10,000, 18,000 followers on TikTok, right? So once you know the science, like the art form becomes easy. So you got to study attention. You got to study how dopamine works. You got to understand, what is it that is really happening for people on a basic scientific process. Like, I'm not saying you got to become some sort of biologist, physician, like one of these researchers, but you got to know the basics in terms of the science, the basic psychology, human psychology. So a couple of examples of people who are in what I would call the meme category are people like Andrew Tate, right? People like Bonnie Blue. The reason why I say those two is because it's not as if you have to like those people. In fact, they're very good at being able to get out there and piss off loads of people all at once so we can go viral. But that's not actually good branding. What good branding truly is getting people to associate liking towards you. So what they're really good at is just simply getting attention, which is one form of marketing. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I think they're geniuses at meme kind of marketing, right? But you want to study the people's geniuses in each area. So this is the truth, is that if you're in the game of marketing, digital marketing, content creation, and you're someone who is like, you want to stay local, private, and you just don't want people to not like you, strangers online, because at the end of the day, when it comes to even fear of judgment, chances are there's going to be like 3, 4, 5 people tops that you're going to care about their opinions of. So if you do, then my recommendation is just block those people. But aside from that, everyone else in terms of strangers, like, you're going to end up pissing a lot of people off. That's just part of the game. And so if you don't want to do that whatsoever, then you're probably in the wrong game. And you're gonna focus a lot more on these two as opposed to this one, which is actually what will help you to get a lot of what I call organic leads, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, you can either skip this process over here and just focus on these two, but just know that because of that, the cost of each lead who you're going to have coming into your business is going to be, chances are, like, a lot higher, because you're going to rely on paid advertising, paid content, paid marketing, as opposed to having your organic content and marketing as the base and foundation, but then anything else on top, which is paid, is just the icing on the cake, right? But imagine having a stream of organic leads that are coming in 1, 2, 10, 20 a day. Imagine having that. This is what's possible when you've got the meme kind of content. And there's so many examples that you can look at online of people doing this, what's trending, what's going viral. You can be doing it all the time, and it's just the easiest one to replicate. It's the easiest one to get started out. That's the beauty about this. The difficulty is just getting out of your own way and, overcoming the fear of judgment. But like I said, like, if you're going to block the right people, and when they come in, then this is going to be easy for you. Right? This is going to be really easy. At the end of the day, it's like, if you don't like the idea of lots of people knowing who you are, then how are you going to like the idea of, in business, having lots of customers? Because they're eventually going to know who you are, right? So it doesn't make any sense. But that's the meme kind of marketing. The next one is what I call the genes. So the genes is like the opposite to the memes. This is what Richard Dawkins in Selfish Gene was writing a whole book about. I don't recommend reading the book if it's one of your first, just because it's so long and difficult to read. But in the book, he talks a lot about the power and how genes replicate themselves, and the survival of the fittest and evolution and things like this. And this is the genes that we have in our DNA, but it's also like, imagine you've got your brand DNA as well, or your product DNA. So what I find with these people is that, personality speaking, it's like the complete opposite, where this person over here, they don't care at all about the product. In fact, they will partner and get connected with brands all over. They don't really care so much about which brand that it is. They'll have multiple brands, and they'll just be promoting like different products every other day. And nobody's saying there's anything wrong with this. Like, another example of that would be, the people who, they're the ones that have tons of other people's products in the back of their shots and things like this, or the TikTok streamers. All of these are what I would call like the meme marketers, because they're not necessarily sticking to one single brand for a long period of time. And so nobody's saying that these are better than these, because at the end of the day, tons of people make tons of money with this, and tons of people make tons of money with this as well. But if your personality is that of someone who you want to be able to partner long term with one company or one brand, then you're probably more of a gene type of marketer. You care a lot more about the service. You care a lot more about the experience that people genuinely get to have when they buy your product. You care about your reputation, things like that. You care so much about the people, the buyers, right? And so you will work 100% on making sure that they're going to get a great experience. They're going to get a ton of value. Like, that gives you the biggest kick, is seeing another person's transformation, seeing how it has a major impact on them. And that's what you focus on. So I tend to find that it's usually coaches and people who are into healing, and the ones that like building stuff, softwares, products. They're the kind of gene people who are all brand DNA. And their whole philosophy is, there's a famous marketer actually who is one of the GOATs. His name is Seth Godin. And he's actually written a book called The Purple Cow, right? And the whole premise of the book, The Purple Cow, is that his marketing philosophy is that if you simply make the best product, the best service, the best software, whatever it is that you make, and you make it so good and you just focus on making a great product, then that in itself is the marketing strategy, because it's the one that has been the most traditional and worked over millennia. It's the word of mouth. It's the one which naturally people start to go and spread it. And that's the original form of meme, right? So that's what marketers like Seth Godin believe, that you shouldn't really engineer memes yourself, but you should simply focus on the engineering of the product itself, right? But what I would say as a marketer is, knowing these three things over here, if you're choosing either or for any of these, then this is coming from scarcity thinking, right? Because the abundant thinking is not to think either or, but it's to think and. It's to think both. It's to think all. How can I be able to encompass all of these things in one? Because it doesn't take from the other when you add something in. And nobody's saying that you have to be the person that does all three, because at the end of the day, you just might not be that personality. You want to stay authentic. So you can actually partner with other people who are the opposite to you. This is why me and Roy made such a good team, right? It's because I wasn't this kind of guy and he was, and that allowed me to step more into doing this stuff over here, when the gene and the building, etc. So these gene people are what I call the value marketers, and they care about impact, substance, longevity, and their whole mantra is, the longer the content, the better. Hence why you'll probably be watching this video right now, 20, 30 minutes in, and thinking, I hope this is going to go on longer, or when is this guy going to finish? It's either going to be one of the two. But my joy and my passion and my love, like, I become even more alive. I start to thrive the longer the content becomes, because it's like I can feel it for you when you're coming through this content and the experience that you're going through. And I love the fact that you're going to come off the back of this, give me a comment that's going to say it's changed your life. But it's not the comment itself that gives me the kick. It's the impact. That's the thing that gives me the kick. The fact that even if one person watches this video and they change their life somehow, one person watches this video, they sign up for one of my programs that changes their life. Like, that's what truly gives me the kick more than anything. So we care about impact, substance, longevity, longer the better. And we're the type of people who we study value. So all of these, like if you're thinking about, okay, which one am I? I don't know which one I am. Think about for yourself, if you're somebody who's not currently producing content, what are you consuming? Because there are some people who are not necessarily business owners, but they are consuming like really long form content. And then you've got other people who they are also not business owners, and what they're consuming and what they're sharing and what they're liking and commenting on is just the meme content, the viral content. And by the way, like meme content doesn't always have to be things which are stupid or funny. Sometimes meme content is just like artwork, right? Sometimes meme content is just, it's the carousels. It's like the short shareable things. So it doesn't always have to be the meme guy, right? I'm talking about so many different forms of this meme content. So think about, what are you currently consuming for yourself? That's going to be a good reflection of what kind of marketer you will be, because creativity at the end of the day is just you taking ideas from other people and then packaging it in a way where you steal like an artist. So other people, they may be able to recognize where you've got something from or where you haven't. But when you go and put that idea somewhere else, then people can kind of see that you've got your own way of delivering it, or just you being in the content yourself, doing it the same thing that somebody else did, but you doing it differently, very subtly. Sometimes you can even do it similar, but it's just your face is different, makes it unique. So for me, I'll give you the example, is like when it comes to the educational type of content, why is it that I get good feedback on my content now? Well, it's because I actually consumed hundreds of hours of this value content for years. So I know what people will like. I know what will actually impact people. I know what will somewhat grab a person's attention as well in the beginning, but I know how to deliver an experience which is going to make people feel like, yeah, that was good. So if you're the type of person who has the ideas and creativity from the meme content, then it doesn't make sense for you to jump into this straight away. Right? It makes sense for you to focus on how can I add more meme content in. And if you're feeling right now that, okay, I've already, like I'm a content creator, or I'm a business owner, and I've been building my personal brand, but I want to transition to another kind of content, that's absolutely fine. If you want to do that, then my recommendation is that before you just start going and creating content, that's one thing that you could do. You go from meme content to now creating the gene content. But an easier way to do it is just research what's actually working in that particular domain. What's actually working for educational-based content right now? What's actually working for the viral content? And that's how you'll go and find it. But what I'm basically saying is that the easiest way to get results quicker is just look at what do you personally like and put out content like that. It makes no sense, right? So there's the studying the value is myself. And I give you a couple of examples of the people who have the gene content in terms of personal brands. I mentioned one of them, Jordan Peterson. He's one of my favorite brands to watch. Myron Golden, another one, great brand. And even though these guys now have millions of followers, if you actually look at how they got started and why they blew up, it wasn't because they created their own memes. Like, I don't think they really started with that whatsoever. What Myron Golden was doing a lot of was putting out a lot of live videos, educational videos, quite similar to what I'm doing right now. So if you go back many, many years and he still has that content, you can take a look and see when he had a studio that was even worse than this. His whiteboard was half the size of this. So, they had to start somewhere as well. But there was Jordan Peterson, and his was like all these lectures, 3 hours of lectures he did for many, many years. And then it actually blew up because of the way that somebody else promoted him. So that's an extreme version of the gene content and how you can blow up. But if you want to take it this route, then you have to be willing to put out lots and lots of content for many, many years and not see any returns, playing the long game, right? But knowing that through doing that, the quality of audience that you are going to personally get after putting out so much value and people finally discovering you, the quality of audience is going to be night and day difference. Like, I've already started to experience it with some of the videos that I've been putting out recently, which have been longer form content like this. And the quality of my audience has been night and day different compared to what it was like before, when it was just me dancing around with terrible dance moves on TikTok, using viral trending audios and things like that. The quality of the audience, night and day difference. Like, I can't stress this enough. I'm saying it through experience, right? So to give you the example, the first lead that I ever got from doing that kind of content was a 14-year-old kid who was on the bus and said that, you know, he could barely even afford to buy the book Rich Dad Poor Dad if I was going to give that as a recommendation for him. So I had to give him a free PDF instead. And it wasn't just one of them. I had like many of them come through because my content did go viral, but it went viral to the wrong audience to some degree, or not the most aligned audience. It's going to become high ticket purchases. Whereas now, you know, first leads that are coming through, people who got 30 years experience in business, people who are really good at the offline stuff, but maybe they need some more work on the online. Like, that's my kind of audience that I would love to work with, because yeah, it's a lot better than a 14-year-old. So we've got the gene audience, the memes audience, and now finally we have what I call the themes audience. This is the bridge between the two. So you can look at it as if it's what the middle ground would be, but I think the better way of looking at it is the resonant audience is the people who they encompass both of these, right? They do both of them. They're really good at both. That's the best way of describing the themes audience in what I'm sharing. But I also think that you could argue that it's a separate component too, because the resonant audience is, as the word describes, like, it's all about the resonance. Whereas here, it's about the relatability. So when you're first getting started out in your content creation journey and you're just a mum and a kid, or you're just like a person working 9 to 5 and sharing how you're trying to hustle and get your way out, like the meme audience is the best one to go for, because you've got that power of relatability from the very beginning. But then later down the line, it becomes more difficult for you to relate to other people because you've actually got good results. And you'll be thinking to yourself right now, but I can't even imagine that problem. But I'm telling you, it's real. You are no longer going to be able to just relate to people anymore and connect with them on that level. And so this over here is the ideal to start off with, the relatable. Then you've got the relevant content, right? And the relevant content is you putting out that genuine value that people will feel like, yeah, that's something that I can work on. That's something I can take action on. But then the final thing is the resonant content over here. And this is like a step up from the meme content, but the difference with this is that when you have something that truly resonates with a person, this is your foolproof and AI safety proof, like future proof way of being able to make sure that you can still authentically express yourself, which will register from others that what you just put out was genuinely real. Because I'm yet to see AI content that resonates with me. I can see AI content that is creatively beautiful in terms of the way that it's filmed, edited, but apart from maybe a few videos, like, I'm really yet to see AI content that like really resonates with me. But there is some that's coming very close. So I'm not to completely remove this. I'm also saying, if you're going to be doing AI content, like, you're going to be thinking to yourself right now, if you want to get ahead of the game, how can I put out AI ads and AI content that's going to resonate with people? How can I engineer this resonance? Okay, and I think I figured it out, because the idea with resonance, if you don't know what resonance truly means and is defined as, imagine you've got two rods that are in separate places, and it's like you hit one of them and it makes the vibration, I can't remember what the rods are called. Tuning forks, I think that's what they are. You hit one of them and it vibrates, and through the vibration, the other one on this side as well, this vibrates too because of the frequency that actually matches this one over here. So imagine this is you, this is your audience, and you want it to be that your vibration is matching the frequency of somebody else's. And that's what causes the resonance that moves people, that gets them to connect with you truly on like a soul level, right? So the question is, how do we actually engineer that resonance? And the way we do it is by making sure that who we are over here and who they are, it's not just someone who we can show that we have surface level similarities. Like if I'm a person who, I've got long dreadlocks right now, and I go and start putting out my content, somebody else has long dreadlocks. It's enough to capture the attention of another person who also has a similar hairstyle. But if I centered my whole brand around like the way that I look, bearded men, just men. Yes, there's going to be some relatability, but we're not going to have resonance, because resonance is about that depth. It's about being able to connect beyond the surface, connect to the soul of another human being. And how we do that is by not connecting to their conscious mind about who they are, but it's about their unconscious mind. So who you want to study with this, and if you want to learn a little bit more about the unconscious, is psychologists like Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was the guy that came up with the 12 archetypes, right? So these 12 archetypes that essentially define a part of who we are, and this is something that's innate. This is something that you're almost born with, right? These archetypes are things like the king, the ruler as one of them, the innocent, the magician, the hero. There's 12 of these archetypes, and so the more that you start figuring out for yourself, which one you personally embody, because at the end of the day, you can't change that. This one is the one that's outside of your control, but you can change who you're going to target. So over here, the game to be most resonant is to become most authentic. It's to align the most with what your inner archetypes are. Now, you might be looking at them right now and think, well, sometimes I'm the lover. Sometimes I feel like I'm the warrior. Sometimes I feel like I'm the innocent or the creative. Or if I ask other people and they're telling me that I'm a lot of these, which is normal. But what I'd be recommending for yourself right now in terms of who you want to be stepping into the most is the one that you want to be known as well as the one that you feel like is most dominant within you. The one that you feel like is the one that truly over the entire story of your life summarizes the archetype that describes what you've been through personally. Because if I look at it for myself, for example, a lot of people say to me, oh, you seem like a creative kind of person, a creative individual. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. Definitely. You also seem like somebody who is like Dumbledore, the magician, like Black Dumbledore. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Resonates. But the one that deeply resonates with me the most is the sovereign, is the ruler, is the king. And it has done since I've been a child as well, since I've been watching movies like The Lion King. Since I've been loving watching TV series like Game of Thrones. So it's the sovereign for me that is my theme that I want to play as the dominant one that I choose. And if you look at even big companies like Apple, Microsoft, Sony, all of them have an understanding about these archetypes and they lean towards one of them more than the other. That's why something like McDonald's, as much as McDonald's is catered for everyone in the world, they specifically choose the innocent archetype. So you can actually see now that we've got different ones for each different archetypes, and you've got to be able to distinguish for yourself which archetype for you is the one that you feel most authentically aligned with, and which one does your audience have as well, and who are you in relation to that archetype? Because just because I'm the sovereign doesn't necessarily mean I have to target other people who are sovereign. If I'm the sovereign, I could actually target other people who might be heroes. Let them be the hero in the brand. So this is the story that you're going to be thinking about when you're looking at your themes and who you're calling out in your content, right? So the difference over here is that with resonant marketing, it's now about resonance, alignment, engagement. So if you're seeing, for example, like somebody's giving you a comment, it's no longer about, okay, just the volume of comments, but it's how much content is the person giving me in their comments. And if they're commenting like paragraphs, you know that you've actually created content that's resonant with people. Then there is the alignment, the quality of people that are coming through that are actually aligned with yourself, your brand, etc. And there's the engagement as well. Okay, so the difference here, it's not the longer the better, it's not the shorter the better, it's the preciser the better. It's like the best word that I can use. I don't know if it's a word, but it's more about now precision as opposed to length. Okay, which is a little bit more difficult, but when you get better as a marketer, this is what you want to be aiming for. So right now, if you're watching this, chances are you're someone who you've been trying to really call in that target audience and get more engagement, and not just people who are liking your content to give you sympathy likes or anything like that, but you actually want people to engage with your content as if, wow, this is content that they genuinely want to consume, right? They want to connect with you. Because the feeling that you want to be giving people is that when they watch your content, what they personally would dream of is to get onto a call with you and have a conversation with you. And you do that through making sure that it truly resonates, right? So things that you want to get good at with this as well is storytelling. If you're somebody who's able to tell stories really well, then it's going to evoke a certain emotion. And making sure you're telling your story, your archetypal story, and also the archetypal story of your target audience, who these people are as well. So I give you some examples. Like I feel like for me, the one that comes to mind for a really truly resonant brand that's resonated with me for many, many years is the brand of J. Cole, right? He's just come out with a new album, which if you haven't listened to, highly recommend it. I think it's great. And what he has in his brand is, he has like the young Simba, he has the young lion, which is very much symbolizing, again, the ruler archetype. He's had that on many albums in terms of the progression of what it was like initially, which shows that it's almost as if who he's targeting, again, is the ruler. But when I think about a brand like J. Cole's as well, he's definitely someone who has a creative brand too. He's a creator. But what he's very good at is getting that resonance. A couple of other ones, there's another guy that I like to watch. A lot of people tell me that he reminds me of me, or I remind me of them. I remind them of him. And that is the guy Hinz, who I first saw that he blew up on TikTok, and then he went over to YouTube and he does content across the board now. But the way that his resonates is because he focuses primarily on the creator archetype. You can see how this is coming together, right? Another one is like someone like Stephen Bartlett. His content resonates a little bit more than other podcasters do. Why? Because he knows which archetype that he's going after. So you see that a lot of the podcasts, even though there are lots of different guests, there's a similar theme to every single podcast. The way that it's done is like the dark side, almost the rebellious side, right? So you want to study archetypes for this, but what I'd be saying is that if you're watching this right now and you feel like, wow, you've just broken something down that I've never thought about before in terms of marketing. How does this translate to sales? How does this, what would you recommend right now in terms of what I can do if I see myself as being somebody who is struggling with the meme content, the theme content, or the gene content? And what I'd be saying is that if you truly want to start making more and more sales, then there's either one of three things that you can do. It's like you can either get more eyeballs on your product, offer, or service, whatever it is that you're putting out there, get more eyeballs through the meme content. You can, if you want to keep the eyeballs the same, you can simply provide more value, which will make it so that the quality of people that are jumping on a call with you are already converted before they jump on, right? Because they already know the problems and solutions, etc., and then they're just going to buy something like this, right? So that's the gene content. And then the theme content is where when people come and start consuming your content, you're going to increase more sales because there's a resonance of which, at the end of the day, people don't necessarily buy on logic, but they buy on emotion. So people will be pre-bought in when you have these two together, and you just have a maximum volume of people through the meme content as well. And so the other question was as well, like, how is it that you can actually get good at doing these styles of content? And simple way that I'd say it is lean into your strengths first and foremost. If you've been thinking to yourself right now, damn, is this guy really saying to me that I can get paid for all of the work that I put in all this time into consuming memes and sharing memes? I can get paid for that? The answer is yeah. But you're just not capitalizing on the actual opportunity. I can get paid for all the hours of content that I've consumed in podcasts and lectures and debates and educational content. I can get paid for that? Yeah, absolutely. But if you're going to be stuck in the mindset of, I'm just going to be scrolling, letting this opportunity walk past because I don't want people to see me. I don't want people to say bad things about me. I don't want to be in people's heads. I don't want to know that other people are having opinions of me whilst I'm not in their presence. Then you're in the wrong game. Straight up. That's the best way I can put it. And why be in this game? The way that I see it is that if you ain't going to be in this game right now, then you're going to be in a game that's a dying game. You're going to be in a game that's going to leave you behind somehow. Because at the end of the day, you can't avoid what game that you're in. You either be in a game which is like a PlayStation game, or you be in a game which is the game of life. So this is the triad of resonant marketing, and I'm sure there's a lot of gems that I've shared today. I don't know how long I've been going on for, but hopefully you've taken some value from the video. Hopefully it's resonated with you in certain ways as well. And if you want to, hopefully you can make some memes out of this as well. I'm sure that the order of it is probably genes, themes, memes, but at the end of the day, I'm doing this on my school. I'm doing it on my YouTube channel. So I don't expect this kind of content to go viral. Like if this content gets me 20 views, if it gets me 100 views, if it gets me 1,000 views, I feel like I've won. Because how I look at it is that this is synonymous to me holding the presence and stage of a room full of people. 20 people holding their presence for an hour long is incredible. 100 people holding their presence for an hour long is incredible. 1,000 people, we're filling out arenas at this point. You can see what I'm talking about. It's completely different. Can you fill out an arena with a meme? Maybe temporarily. And what I want to finish on as well is what I truly believe is going to be the future of content, because what we're seeing right now is people like iShowSpeed blow up. What we've seen is people like KSI blow up in the entertainment field. And a lot of you will be thinking to yourself, well, I'm just going to focus on the memes. I'm going to go viral. And then from there, with all the money that I get from the virality, I'm just going to pour that into building an actual, personal brand, which is something that you can definitely do as a strategy. But I believe that there's a way right now where you can actually from scratch build a brand which encompasses all three of these things, the themes, the memes, and the genes, by doing more content, which is live stream content. Right? This is why I go live in my school. I'm going to start setting it so that I can actually go live across more platforms at once as well. But the reason why is because this is the best way that I can have content that will resonate, that will be relatable, and it will be relevant. And you're going to be thinking to yourself, there's only going to be more and more creators into the mix. There's only going to be more and more fake AI content into the mix. So how are you going to stand out? And it's no longer just playing the game safe. It's no longer just, yeah, I'm going to take some selfie videos and point at stuff randomly and things like this. That's the bare basics. It's enough to get you moving at least, but as fast as possible, I'd say. If you're here, aim to come here a little bit more, and you'll probably land somewhere there, and that's still a great place to be. If you're here, you're probably doing really well. So yeah, that's everything for today's video. I'm going to wrap things up there. Thanks for watching, and again, please let me know, give me some feedback in the comments. Have you liked this style of content where it is just me teaching, giving you educational genes? And is this relevant to you? Do you feel like you've actually gained something? And if you have, let me know in the comments what's been your biggest takeaway and how you're going to start implementing that in your business, in your life, in your marketing, to start growing on with your personal brand. But yeah, thanks for watching, and peace. We'll see you next time.